All right, what's up, guys? We have Ludovic here. He is a world traveler with his dog. So, what's up, Ludovic? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My dog are two little parrots, a cockatiel and a budgie, but
Okay, sorry about that.
all good. Uh, it does make more sense for people for it to be a dog, so I get where you got that from.
For some reason, I read
But yeah, we
dog.
travel
Yeah.
around. All good. We travel around in our trusty Land Rover, which currently the top is down so that they can continue to sleep. We just came back from England, so it's awesome.
All right, sounds good. And I didn't even attempt your last name, Vuillier. Vuillier.
Yeah, even French people have a hard time saying it. Vuillier.
Okay, and it is Vuillier. Okay, and it is. So you are French.
I am French, yes.
Awesome. But right now you're in the UK.
Actually, right now I'm back in France. My visa ran out, so I had to leave the UK. I was there for 6 months. I did England, I did Wales. It was. I'll go back another time for Scotland.
Okay, so now you're back in France.
Now I'm back in France. I'm about to make my way down either to Spain or to Italy, and I should decide that this week.
Okay. The connection's spotty, but I mean, I think we can go with that just because you are like, in a Land Rover, correct?
I am right now in the Land Rover. I apologize. Infrastructure for mobile technology is not the best in Europe.
Yeah.
I
You need to get, I don't think they've made it yet, but they need to get like Wi-Fi for cars. You know what I mean?
No,
uh,
they
we
actually have
have,
it. It's
but
you can get Elon Musk's Starlink, I think it is, and you can
can you?
actually you can get a
Yeah,
hundred and yeah, you can get 150 megabits per second, or like some people clock it at like 250 megabits per second. So you just
really?
get this little, yeah, you get this little like satellite dish, and you hook it up, put it outside when you're on internet, and it's like super fast. And it doesn't matter if you're in the jungles of Brazil, like you'll get signal because it's all satellite.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll check it out. Definitely.
Well, Ludovic is also like a tech guy, right? You have like a startup company, a tech company, right?
So yeah, it's I've never considered myself a tech person. I'm more of a financial person. Usually, my entire life has been in finance, right? Payment processing and hedge funds when I was younger. What we've started right now, me and just a few other people, is do you have pets?
I don't know. Jordan?
You don't.
Two
Um,
dogs, they passed away. Yeah.
no, I'm sorry.
Very
Um,
sad.
but so maybe you know the statistic. You say very sad with a smile on your face.
No, I'm just life happens, whatever. So
Of course, of course. But the thing is that a third of all pets get lost, right? And 80% of them never make it home. So we are developing right now the equivalent of a pet Amber Alert, so that the second your dog or cat or parrot, whatever, runs away, you can with one push of a button notify every animal lover in the area. You don't need, the entire state or all the world because we're not out there to annoy people. Um, that's the first thing. Additionally, there will be other things, that the app can do for the day-to-day care because we don't want people to have to download the app just for that, obviously. But that is the first main benefit that we're offering, and that will be absolutely free no matter how many pets you may have. You can sign them all up for it.
that's cool. So really quick question:
Yeah.
is that geo not geolocate or geo? Is there geofencing involved in that? Where if the animal is too far away, or is that like a manual thing? You go into the app and say my pet is lost. Do you know what I mean? Or is it
Uh,
like if it gets
Yeah, so that depends essentially on the privacy settings that you set up in the beginning, right? We will recommend that you let us track the location so that you can just press a button and that's it. Wherever you're from, that's the location I will send out. If for privacy reasons, which I completely understand, right? You don't want us to track your location when you're using the app, right? Then in that case, you will need to put it in manually.
okay?
So yeah, because we have to give people who have privacy concerns the option to opt in or opt out. very understandable. Most times I don't let apps, know of my location unless it's needed. For this, obviously, I will. So it's just a question of what you prefer. But we will try to, even if you don't let us track your location, to try to make the process as simple and as short as possible.
Sounds like a kind of like an Ace Ventura type thing, but with like technology. Right?
I guess, but hey, Ace Ventura has many, many good things, so I'm not going to complain. Yeah.
Bumblebee tuna.
Bumblebee tuna. Yeah. So has this app come out yet?
It hasn't come out yet. We're still developing it. Because we're developing it for, since, I mean, a third of all animals get lost, yes, but it's not daily occurrence either, right? So we're adding another thing in it so that people have a reason to download it already now, and not just download and wait for their pet to get lost, right? Since we're hoping that doesn't happen. So should be ready within, I'll say, the next few weeks, but the truth is that with tech, you never know. So let's say, 2 months maybe.
Is there a way you can integrate so I'm just saying, I'm in IT as well. So is there a way you can integrate is there a way you can integrate like the chips that are embedded in dogs and cats or whatever species it is, in which you can maybe not scan them, because iPhone cannot scan a chip, but is there a way that, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. Is there a way to input the information so that it's part of the, each animal will have a profile. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No.
Each animal has a profile which puts their name, their gender, everything in there, right? Including any ID tags that they may have. For example, my budgie has a ring on her talon, and the cockatiel has a microchip, right? So both those things will be there for each one.
Okay.
Like that, if a vet, for example, because the thing is, okay, so let's say that you also have the app, and you get a notification that Roscoe from your next door neighbor, right, just ran away from the yard, right? So you'll see all the information, the name, since you want him to respond to you, right? The gender, the age, the picture also, so you know what he looks like. Now, that's great. You've seen it now, but let's say that you cross Roscoe in a week from now on the street. You're not going to remember it. But let's say that you cross, a dog that seems to need a little bit of help and this and that. You'll be able to go back and search, through all the Amber Alerts, because the idea is not for it to notify you every day, oh, this dog is still lost, because otherwise people will get annoyed, and remove the app, which is definitely not what we're looking to do. But if you do find an animal that needs help, then there should be a place, where you can go back and search for everything and find the animal. Vets will also have access to it, since a lot of those animals get there. Rescues also, etc.
Sounds like it's a Find My iPhone for dogs. That's cool.
So yeah,
no, that's a really cool thing.
You do have like a tracker. You do have like a tracker in the animal.
No, there's nothing. There's no piece of tech that goes on the animal. It's pretty much Roscoe just disappeared from the location of, I don't know. I'm trying to remember, South Beverly Drive, right? Be on the lookout, pretty much. And like that, people will get a notification on their phone. So, right, let's say that you do have a dog named Roscoe who just ran away, from I'm from LA, right? So from South Beverly Drive, just ran away from there, and you're letting everyone know, okay? And let's say that, people the next street over see it. So they will receive a notification right now that your dog just ran away. This is what he looks like, and to be on the lookout for him. So you're
cool. So if Tom Cruise's dog, if Tom Cruise's dog runs down the street in Beverly Hills, then he'll find it as soon as possible, right?
No, I want to see Tom. I want to see Tom Cruise running down the street chasing his dog. That'd be hilarious.
I want to see him in a fucking jet, jumping out like a jet,
holding on to the side of the jet, like I think he's right here, like parachuting down. It'd be funny to see Tom Cruise on a bird scooter, like trying to find his dog, like.
That, actually, I think I could have used his help some time ago when my bird actually got lost, and we had an issue. We found him at the top of a building. Go climb that.
Tom Cruise could.
Exactly. I should have called Tom Cruise. No, that should have been the thing.
Just give him a couple. Just give him a couple of suction cups. He'll get it right up that building.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is gonna find your dog, not the other way around.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe that should.
You're cutting out a little bit. Unfortunately, I think we already said this, but Ludovic is a like he's living the van life, so he doesn't have the perfect.
Don't you dare!
What'd you say?
It's exactly.
You're living.
It's a Land Rover, man. Come on, that's like fancy van life. I want to know though.
You're living the Hollywood life out in France. It sounds like.
Well, what I saw when Ludovic joined this call before we started the podcast, he had some steam coming up in front of his face. Like, what were you making?
Coffee.
Coffee, yeah.
Coffee.
That's like.
I set my alarm clock so that I could do the podcast with you guys. So I definitely need coffee.
Yeah, that's like the typical like van life thing there. I don't know if you've seen like the Instagram videos or like the TikTok videos where like they're like pouring coffee in their van and they have like a drone like flying, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's actually what I wanted to get to before we get into like the business stuff, which I do also want to get into. I'm actually like an Instagram, TikTok. I make videos and pictures, and I travel. Or I don't travel. I fucking drive an hour or two to the beach and take pictures. So that's mainly what I'm interested. I'm very interested in that. So sorry to cut off the flow of the conversation, but I want to get into that before we go too far off the rails. So so first of all, do you have a YouTube travel vlog, or is this just something that you are doing just for fun or
so first of all, I am definitely doing this for fun and not as a business, right? I do have Instagram, and I have a Facebook page, right, where I share, either videos or pictures or whatever. But I don't. A lot of it is pretty, I'll say, because our travels are gorgeous, but I also tend to keep it fairly real. I mean, sometimes I'm in a place before I left England, I was in a place for about 5 days, for example, right? So since there wasn't a lot of new things to see, there was a lot of pictures of my birds. But it's definitely not for me. It's, that's just, I like sharing the travels that I do because it's fun.
Do you have a
and so favorite, it sounds like with your business,
do you have a favorite? Sorry, Micah, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. It sounds like with your business, you have it set up to where you're able to travel and kind of like do business on the go, right?
Absolutely. As long as I have my phone with me and some reception, I'm good to go.
Okay. So how are you making money now, if you don't mind me asking? You mentioned the finance thing, right? Because you don't have the app out yet.
No, I don't have the app out yet. And let's be honest, before the app makes any money, it'll take some time, right?
Yeah.
No, I own a payment processing company. So whenever you use, we focus on high risk. So if you're at a casino online, right, or you're buying CBD or stuff like that, there's a high probability that we get a few cents off of it. And you use your credit card, then we get a few cents off of it.
All right, cool. So can I get some cash back for that from you? last time I went to the casino, I spent like $5 on the ATM fee, and then another $3 from my Chase bank.
Oh wow!
So if there's any way that you can give me a rake back or whatever you call it, I'm just messing around.
Micah's high rolling.
Otherwise, I would. We focus on online, but I'll tell you, I was speaking with a bank representative that we work with, and he was telling me how when Bitcoin first came out, he bought some weed. He's in Canada, with Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin at the time was definitely not what it was, even now. So he used 200 Bitcoins for his Friday night high.
Which is now worth carry the
200 times 16,000, right?
$200,000. Yeah.
How much?
Yeah. It comes out, well, let's put it this way. It comes out to about 3 million.
Jesus.
Oh, for some weed. Damn.
Yeah.
That's why
I think we all heard about the story of the guy who like had bought a pizza, gave his roommate like 18 Bitcoins or whatever for a pizza.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
Wasn't there that football player too who like put all his paycheck into like Bitcoin or something? Like everything he was getting from football, he was like putting like straight into Bitcoin, I think. I don't know what happened, but do you know what I'm talking about, Jordan, or no?
No, but I'd like to know that guy.
Well, it depends on when he put it in. If he put it when Bitcoin was low, fair enough. If he put it at its high, which I have a feeling that may be what happened, then he lost a lot.
Yeah. So are you a Bitcoin guy?
I am not. I do believe, having been, on the investment side of finance, I do believe in owning a bunch of different stuff. So I do have some Bitcoin, but that's just because the money is extra. I would not say to someone that if, they have just $10,000, that they spend more than 100 on crypto. And I may be completely wrong, right? I mean, it may be that it's going to come out on top and all that, but it's still too unstable for me to recommend more than that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like the only reason why I use Bitcoin is, you were speaking of online transactions, is for online poker, which hasn't gone great for me. I'm a pretty good poker player, but the online world is like a way different thing. I don't know if you know anything about it, but the last time that I bought Bitcoin was literally $100 on Coinbase like 3 days ago,
right?
And then I wanted to like put it onto this site called Ignition, and they're like, I guess I had to wait 6 days or something. So I'm just like, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So it's like, there's no way that if I can't like use this immediately, I'm not going to wait 6 days to play, poker or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it. Again, I just have a bit because you never know, but not more than that. I'm not one of who would be like, oh yeah, it's definitely the future. I do think it'll have a part in the future, probably, but which one of them, I don't know.
Yeah, but we'll get back to that. Jordan, I think Jordan was going to ask you where the best place you've been is.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. Like with your travels and in the Land Rover, not the van. What are some of the best places you've been and why?
By the way, the reason I like the Land Rover compared to the van is because the Land Rover, I can take it anywhere and it'll last a lifetime. The place that I've loved the most so far, it depends for what, obviously, but Cyprus was great, right?
Yep.
I spent a lot of time in Israel, not with the Land Rover. That was an amazing place, right? Well, that's the thing. Each place is so different. I was in Russia also. I spent a bit of time in Turkey.
My girlfriend's Turkish. Yeah, she's from Istanbul and Cheshme. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Turkey, for example, I definitely intend to go back with the Land Rover and do a long-term trip there because I mean, wow.
Go to Bodrum. It's called Bodrum. Yeah, it's gorgeous. I've been told. I mean, she tells me all the places in Turkey to go, but everyone in like Israel goes up to Turkey for vacation because it's like all beach, all Mediterranean Sea beach. It's like Greece, but affordable. And she says Cheshme, Istanbul, of course, like certain parts. It's a very tourist town. Ankara is more like Washington D.C. of America, so don't really go there.
No. Right.
Yeah, and Bodrum apparently is really beautiful.
You have the accent down pretty well.
No, thanks. You date a Turkish girl, you start talking different. So
that's how I learned a bit of Russian.
Me too. Da. Babka.
So I'm assuming you were in Russia before the war, right?
Yeah. And it's actually my passport, the visa, right? So when I just left the UK, they look at the passport, and the guy looks at me, he's like, "So why were you in Russia?" I look at him, I say, "Well, because to be honest, it's a beautiful country, and this was a few years ago, before it was, a no-go area. He's like, all right. I'm like, I was just a tourist there. He's like, uh-huh. I'm like, can I go, or are you about to stop me for more questions? Like, because he was just very, I was there maybe 4 years ago, so it was weird to me that he would bring it up. I mean, but
he's like, no, you're staying here. He's like, you ain't
yeah,
leaving.
exactly. If you're a Russian spy, that's it. It's done.
Yeah. Have you had any issues with that? Like where you have issues either getting into the country or getting out for whatever reason?
The only country which I had a bit of a funny issue, I'll say, was once in Turkey. I went with not my French passport, but my Israeli passport, because that's what I had on hand. And they didn't want to let me back into Cyprus because I was going back into the Turkish side of Cyprus, and they decided in Turkey that I wasn't allowed on an Israeli passport. I fought with her, proved to her that yes, and so in the end, she let me get on the plane in the last minute, but that was it.
Yeah, and so where is Cyprus?
It's the island in the middle of the Mediterranean.
Yeah, Cyprus is underneath Turkey to the west of Lebanon and a little bit north of Israel. And the island is divided into the Greek side, which is south, and the Turkish side, which is north. I lived on both sides, 3 months on each side, and it was absolutely amazing.
My God, I've heard that too. I mean, Marve, the girl I'm seeing, her parents go there. They're like obsessed with it. There's like, it's like Lake Tahoe casinos and everything. Like, it's a lot. I'm assuming a lot like Tahoe or that whole. Yeah.
The people are so laid back. It's sun all the time, right? Even in winter, you might have a few days of rain, but that's it. And the people are just really, really nice. The food is good, so it's a great place to go visit.
So it's technically Turkey then.
Both.
The south side is Greek. Don't tell them that you think it's Turkey. They will kick you out with it.
If you know the history of Turkey, and I've only recently been studying it because of the girl I'm dating, but Ataturk was the father of Turkey, and so he fought off the Sultan of Turkey when he took power and westernized it, turned it into Chick-fil-A's and stuff that we know now, right? But he had to fight the Sultan and his army, and also to give women liberation and all the rights that we know today in America. He saw Western culture as very, very not just powerful, but just the future, right? And he had to actually also fight off Greece, which is pretty hard when they have a navy and military and all that stuff. So to his point, to Ludovic's point, it's very it's very segmented because Greece actually fought Turkey in their war, right? So I mean, it's nowadays it's whatever, but to his point, it's like
not completely whatever. They still hate each other. I mean, in ways that on
really?
the island. Oh yeah. And so when I was living on the north side, right, for example, and I would go to the south side to visit some friends, I could not say out loud that I was living on the north side because, I mean, how dare I, right? And the opposite was true also. When I was living on the south side, when I went to the north side, I couldn't really, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of hate there. And I say that as someone who spent time in Israel, right? I guarantee I was still shocked by the amount of hate I saw between both sides there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some of the places you've mentioned, I wouldn't, for some reason, think those would be like the places. I think mainly just because I don't know. I guess I haven't really seen those places like on Instagram. I've seen like or maybe just like an American thing. A lot of Americans go to like the Bahamas or I guess Hawaii or trying to think
Mexico.
of other places. Where else, Jordan? Like the Caribbean,
Mexico.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't really think like I haven't really even heard much about Cyprus or Russia or like other places you
local people, right, who know about it. I think Russia is gorgeous. Russia, whether you like nature or architecture or art, I mean, it's just absolutely, and maybe it's the wrong time politically to say this, but Russia is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
it's a
beautiful place. It's a wonderful country. No, I'm just kidding.
Did you spend time? Place, did you spend time in St. Petersburg, or mostly? Definitely not Siberia.
No, I spent most of the time in Moscow, simply because that's where I had friends, and I wanted to feel more comfortable, and I had a limited amount of time, right? But assuming that the political situation allows it, I do hope in the future to be able to go back to Russia and do St. Petersburg, but also all the nature area, because I mean it's vast wildlands there. So I definitely hope to be able to do that.
I mean, I would kind of compare it to like Canada or Alaska, right? Where it's just like endless seas of trees and rivers, and it's just.
But not only, think of Mongolia, for example, right? With the steppes there and all that. I mean, so it's a bit of a mix. It's something that you wouldn't see in North. And don't get me wrong, I mean, in North America, honestly, you can spend a lot of time traveling there and discovering new things that are beautiful, right? So I completely understand. But I do think there's a bit of a difference, just not more beautiful or less beautiful, just a different type of nature that's gorgeous also.
Yeah, I just don't know enough about it for whatever reason. Like when you guys were talking about, Jordan seems to know more than me, but when you guys were talking about like Turkey and Russia, I wouldn't know anything, like where to go or anything. Okay, but yeah, I definitely want to go
travel, look at it, but otherwise, I mean, yeah.
What was that?
If you do want to travel to the area, yeah, definitely recommended. But as I said earlier, honestly, you have so much stuff in North America also. I get it.
Yeah. Like we live in Southern California, and I don't know, like for a long time, I didn't think that it was like, I don't think it is as majestic as like certain places, like what you're saying, or like, because there's so much, so much has been built here. But, right. But then it's like, I went up to like Yosemite recently, which is like, and this is just particularly California. I went up to Yosemite for like about a couple of years ago for the first time ever. And I was like, man, this is gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like this is about as beautiful as what I see in like Italy, like the Dolomites or whatever. Probably not as good as the Dolomites, maybe, or like what's that other one? It's like there's like a backpack company named after it. It's like I can't think of the name.
Not sure.
It's yeah. Oh, like Patagonia. I don't even know where Patagonia is.
Right. Yeah.
You know where that is? Patagonia?
I'm trying to remember. And I feel horrible. Oh, hold on. I think I have a parrot that wants to say hello.
Okay.
If yes, he'll come down.
Oh, hey, what's up?
He can be a guest.
No, not yet.
Get him mic'd up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Trust me, they're really awake. But no, I can't remember where Patagonia is. Is it in South America?
It's in South America, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Jordan knows his geography.
Yeah, he does.
I've been all around the world. I lived in Africa for a year.
Really?
No, the most beautiful moment of my life. I was on a bus driving from Germany to Italy, right? And we were gonna go around Italy, just drive around Italy nonstop. It was amazing. But on that evening, I woke up on the bus and everyone else on the bus was sleeping and I was awake, and I woke up and I wanted to tell everyone, like, look. And we come around, we go
look at the beauty, damn it.
Like, look at the beauty, damn it.
You're,
like, stop
you're
sleeping.
Missing out on it.
You're missing out. And so
wake the fuck up.
Wake the fuck up. And so we go through this tunnel and come out in Switzerland and come out the other side. And I remember seeing this lake with the moon shining off of it. And we come through the tunnel. I'm like, my head's against the window of the bus. I'm just sleeping. I wake up, and there's the moon bouncing off the water, and then around it were A-shaped frame houses just perched all in the mountains, and it was the most unbelievable. Like, I recommend traveling to anybody. Like, you have to travel. This world is so big and beautiful, and that is a moment I will never forget. And then we toured Italy. Yes, the Roman ruins were amazing. Yes, like Roma was beautiful. Bologna, Venice, Florence, like it was gorgeous. Pisa, all those places were amazing. But like, I still remember that moment, just waking up in the moonlight and seeing the Swiss Alps. Like, you can't, I mean, Yosemite is beautiful, Micah. Like, I've been there so many, it's unbelievably breathtaking. But there's so many other places in this world it's just inexplicable, and it's just, yeah. So I envy you, Ludovic, because you're a very lucky guy turning around in your Land Rover.
I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. When I was young, I lost my dad when I was young, and he was also fairly young, right? He was 41 years old. I am now 41 years old. Yeah. And I mean, I know when you're 20, you look at 40 or 41 and you're like, oh, that's old, right? But as you get closer, you realize it's not. You're still young. You can still live life fully, do a lot of stuff, because it's not old. You're not decrepit and about to die. Well, hopefully, right? But so for me, I always grew up with the idea, that life can be very short. You never know when it will end. So don't get me wrong. Most of my friends are married with kids, right? And they're happy with it, and that's lovely. I am happy for them, right? And they may say, like you, oh, I envy you, but the truth is not really, because they like their family and they like their kids, and you can't do both. You need to choose, right? For me, just because of various things in my life, it was, you know what? I prefer, the world is huge and life can be very short. So I want to see as much of it as possible. And a few weeks ago, I was in Wales, and I woke up to an amazing view, just absolutely gorgeous. It was overlooking Snowdonia, and the sheep, because so many sheep in Wales. Wow. And I drank my coffee, and I thought to myself, if this was the last thing that I saw, I wouldn't be sad about it,
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, that's why the question of, what's the best place, what the place I liked best, it's hard, because each place is so different and so beautiful in its own way. And I know that there's so much more to see, that as much as the things that I've seen in the past were beautiful, I don't want to go back, because I want to continue seeing the things that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah. There's a saying in English that I know.
So
all you guys.
Where do you want to go now?
So this actually, incredibly enough, depends on if something with work happens or doesn't happen, because it'll either be Spain or Italy.
Okay. So where in Spain or Italy?
If Italy, probably Rome. If Spain, then it'll be either just Mallorca for the winter, so that I can warm myself up, and then or it'll be in Andorra.
All right, nice.
So I'll know that later this week or early next week.
But to what you said earlier, Ludovic, so there's an English saying, I mean, it's probably universal, but it's not about the location. Hey, Birdie. It's not about the location, it's about the journey. So someone's taking over the podcast. So wait, is it he or she?
That's a he, despite the name of Lola, just because when they're babies, it's hard to tell if male or female. They all look female, so.
Yeah. So does the roof is open? Obviously, he's clipped, right?
No. When
No.
I say the roof is open, no, it's I have a rooftop that pops up.
Oh,
so
okay.
Up, and I can stand up here, put my hands up. So there's a lot of, it's very roomy, right?
I thought that was outdoors. I was like, oh my gosh, that bird. I almost said dog. That bird knew how to come home.
It can, but it's dangerous. I wouldn't do that. some people do train them to come back, right? But it needs to be in a place that they always know, that they always go to, and even then there are a lot of risks. So, I prefer not to take those risks.
Can you have it talk?
I do not have a dog. That would be very bad. I had
no. Can you have it talk?
Oh, can I have it talk?
Can Lola talk?
Lola can sing heart and soul.
What?
Well,
can you have her do it? Will she do it like on demand?
Okay. I don't know. Usually, more when we're this excited, it might be hard. But let's see. And it's like, what do you want from me? It's morning. I'm not going to do this. Maybe later it'll happen. We'll see.
It's okay.
Does it hum it or?
No, it whistles
sing it. Okay.
Yeah, just they're. No, okay.
All right, no problem. So yeah, on these trips, what are the kinds of things that you do on the trips? Well, are you do you have like a girlfriend or anything, or do you meet women there, or?
Yeah, no, I don't have a girlfriend usually. So this is actually really funny because of the birds, right? And the bird community, I'll say. So I usually know ahead of time women in various locales around the world. Yes. Sometimes it develops into a little bit more. Sometimes no. That depends on chemistry. But so essentially, I usually know ahead of time. If I'm going to see someone or not. Or you just meet women along the way. Also an option. I have found, despite many. I'm short, there's nothing overly impressive about me, right? When a woman meets me, but because of my lifestyle and a little bit of charm, they're actually interested.
and money, maybe money might help.
So here's the thing. Incredibly enough, if I when I lived, in a stationary place, right, like in an apartment and everything, work-wise, I was able to do a lot more, right? And if I'd stayed that way, I could have been wealthy beyond my dreams. Not to say I'm poor. Yes, I'm very lucky. I can manage my life very well, but it's not the same. Would I go back to living in an apartment just for that? I would not.
I gotta ask you, do the chicks dig the birds?
Some do, right? Again, bird community. Some less, and some are just surprised. The funny thing is, in England, bird is slang for woman or girlfriend.
Woman,
right?
Yeah, woman, yeah.
So when people ask me, if I travel alone, I say, well, it's my two birds, because that's what I'm used to answering. And I mean that as And in my first few weeks in England, the women would look at me in absolute disgust and the men in admiration, and I have no idea why.
I'm just bringing my birds with me. Yeah, my women with me.
Yeah, exactly. I travel with my two birds. What's so hard? It's normal.
You're being cocky. Pun intended. Get it? Cocky. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, once I understood the slang, by the way, I continued to say that. Yeah, just so we're clear. I like seeing people's reactions.
I'm not trying to be cocky. Anyway.
No, but hey, I do hang out with birds a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You mentioned you're 41, and I don't know if me and Jordan look younger, but we're actually I'll age myself. I don't know about Jordan, but I'm 40 and I did one last night at 11 and I'm doing one now, and I'm like feeling it. You know what I mean? Like 11 o'clock isn't what it used to be for me.
Oh no,
you know what I mean?
A few weeks ago I went out with some friends that I met while in England. Great couple. It's a couple with an age difference, and the reason I say that is because of what happened the next day. We went out and we got, hammered. So much alcohol, right? So much. Now, I rarely drink. Normally, my average is maybe one alcoholic drink per month, right? I'm really not a drinker. Yeah. In my youth, when I went out a lot more, I drank a lot more, and I could still hold it well. But the next day, he and I were both like, okay, we need another day to recover, right? And she was all preppy and all fine. Let's go continue and all that. And the difference was simply the question of age, she was about, I don't know, she was 10 years younger than me, 30 years younger than him. I mean, the age difference did it. Yeah. And I looked at her, I said, you know what? I remember those days when I could drink a lot, and next day just as though nothing happened, or work from morning till night, and just continue like that 7 days a week, no problem. Now I need my rest. I feel it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not gonna age myself, but Micah's right. I'm old. I'm really old.
Jordan's 55.
I'm 55. I look 40, but I'm actually 55.
Well,
you look 40, feel 20, but you're 55.
I act like I'm 20.
Yeah. So what kinds of things do you do? Like, what's your itinerary when you go to these places?
Right. So there's a few different options. I always look at attractions nearby, just because there's a bunch of interesting stuff usually. It can be historical attractions, monuments, things like that, or just a hike out in nature. I put them both in a little backpack that I have for them, right? And we go take a hike out in nature. Or this summer I discovered the joys of paddleboarding. So I now have an inflatable paddle, and I just take that out. I have an air compressor that's underneath the hood, right? So I just inflate it that way. It's much faster. And I go out and I paddleboard, and the things you can see, the little lakes and the reservoirs, so that's what I do.
So have they ever been paddleboarding on the paddleboard? They just sit in the front, or like where do they go?
No, not paddle. Lola has been on a kayak, and on a sailboat, because we traveled a bit by sailboat in the beginning.
Wow, lots of experiences.
Previous to the Lola I've had for 11 years, but previous to the budgie, we had a chicken, we had pigeons, we had a quail. Yeah.
Those birds got the life.
Hello.
What was that, Jordan? What'd you say?
I said those birds got the life. I want to be reborn. Like if there's a life after this, I want to be a Ludovic's. I want to be a Ludovic bird.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, do you mean that an actual bird or as a woman, Jordan?
No, definitely a bird. I definitely don't want to be Ludovic's woman.
Hey, okay, reassuring. I mean, you do what's good for you, yeah. But I was just putting that.
Jordan, you're missing out, man.
Apparently.
Jordan's missing out.
No. It's actually funny. I will say this, because you meet a lot of very different people. And someone asked, sent me a friend request a few days ago. I have two different profiles. So, one is private. So unless you're really someone I gave you that profile to, you won't be able to find me, right? And then there's the other one, which I keep as, more public, and sure, I don't care. And on that one, someone sent me a friend request. And after I approved it, all of a sudden he sends me, "So are you gay?" I said, I am not, but kudos to you and good luck to you. I mean, I don't know if I would have been as comfortable, just asking a random person, but hey, why not, right? But yeah, so you do meet all kinds of people. In the UK, for example, here's a funny story. They have something called dogging. Do you know what dogging is?
No, but I'm excited about hearing about it.
It's essentially when you are an exhibitionist. So you go out in your car to various parking spots, which are known as dogging spots, and you do your thing, or you go there to meet up with someone else who's into dogging, because it's also very random. It's not only a question of being an exhibitionist, it's also the randomness of who you're going to meet and who you're going to do stuff with. And I twice pulled up into places that were dogging spots. Was very confused, right? Very confused about why I was being hit on in such a way, and only later found out. So yeah, so that's interesting about the UK. They actually have a term for it.
Well, we still don't know what the word dogging means.
That's what I know, but that's what it means. Having sex with a random person in a public spot.
Oh, okay. And so girls and guys will come out to spots, and
girls and guys, or
guys
to be fair,
and guys.
Yeah, it's usually guys. And so because of that, a lot of it has become gay guys, right? But you also have girls. So
I feel like there was a Ben Stiller movie about that. And
Yes.
He goes out to
No.
a rest stop, and it's
Yeah.
You
Really?
know what I'm talking about,
It's
Micah?
it's the one that I thought you were talking about before. It's Everyone Loves. I always forget the name. Not Everyone Loves, the one with Cameron Diaz.
It's not Meet the oh god.
oh my god. With the hair gel.
Yeah,
hair
exactly.
gel,
It's like bothering me. I forgot it on another podcast.
Something about Mary.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of which, your hair right now is kind of looking like that scene. Like it's like getting like you know what I mean, Ludovic? Not not the way it honestly, not the way it looks, not the way at least I made Ludovic last. Not the way you did it, but like when you move, it like gets stuck on the computer screen. You know what I mean? How it's like blurred or whatever. So it makes it look like it's like sticking out.
I don't see that at all. Maybe
Well,
maybe it's the birds. I don't know.
The birds are making you making you horny.
No, so to be fair though, my is longer up top and tends to just go every which way. I've stopped trying to get it to do something very specific. Oh, here's Liza, by the way.
Hi, Liza.
Yeah,
Liza.
So it's Liza, and what was the other one?
Lola.
Is Liza named after Liza Minnelli?
Sort of. She's very sassy, but adorable. So yeah, there you go.
Damn. Yeah, I guess that one, kind of.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I tried Alice at first. I tried also Pew Pew because she sounds like R2D2. When she chatters, she sounds like R2D2 from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Can you try and have her talk?
That is going to be much harder. She only talks when she hears music.
That's a goal. A goal of my podcast is to get a bird to talk on it, and I've accomplished my goal. But yeah, so as far as, well, for one, I'm kind of surprised that you're not doing the. Are you by any chance muting anything, Jordan?
Am I muting
on your end? Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm not talking.
Because it's for some reason it keeps showing you as like muted, and I don't know, maybe Zoom's doing it to where it's like not.
I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I was just wondering what was going on with that. But it would just randomly say like Jordan's muted. But yeah. So I'm surprised you're kind of not doing the travel vlog thing. Like, but so I'm into the whole Instagram, like I said before, Instagram, TikTok, and my goal is essentially to do what you're doing and basically live, the Range Rover life and travel across the world and take pictures and videos. Do you think that that's something that you could make a lot of money on if you started not even having like really full on gnarly, production videos, but just started filming stuff as you go and put it up on YouTube and Instagram and just basically say you're doing that?
So here's the thing. It's going to be interesting because I keep on the dashboard a GoPro. Right now, the reason I do it is because we often go through places that are absolutely beautiful, and I don't want to stop every few meters, but I do want a recollection of it, in the future. So a friend said, maybe cut those up into smaller videos, put it up on YouTube. So first of all, it'll be interesting to see if that gets any traction. But would I personally make an effort of actually monetizing it? I would not, because I'm afraid that it would remove some of the pleasure that I get from the actual travels, because it's a business, right? And if you want to be successful in that business, just like any business, you need to put in the time and the effort and all of that, right? So when I put in time and effort into our payment processing or into the app for the animals, that's okay because that's a business. The travel I do really for my own pleasure, and I'm afraid that trying to monetize it, the effort that I would need to put in would reduce that pleasure, and I'd rather not. If it happens organically and naturally, sure, why not? But I'm not going to treat it like a business.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I actually go to places like with my my girlfriend gets mad at me for this, but like I go to places like literally to take pictures and videos. Like,
right, okay.
It's like for me, like that's almost obviously the seeing the beauty in the nature and all that's cool. But like there's something about filming in those places that's like almost like for me makes it even better. And like when people film at like concerts and stuff,
yeah.
And they're like, or they hold up their phone, and everyone's like, oh, that's so annoying. To me, it's like, no, like this is what I want to be doing. You know what I mean? It's like I want to be filming the band.
Oh no, I get
like,
the about
no, I get
pictures. I get that. I do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, developing, because you need to have a following and all that, developing that into a business afterwards. I mean, I take loads of pictures and videos and whatnot because I do think there's a certain beauty to it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just the whole effort into monetizing it afterwards that I.
Oh no, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, I get if you're not, and I get that if you're not into that, I get that. Yeah. I'm just saying, like for me, and it is definitely a hard game to make money at. I mean, it's like I've made a little bit of money on Instagram, and I feel like I'm almost lucky. But to keep your followers up and your likes up and your views up, I don't even really know, you know what I mean, how some people are managed to do it. It's like you have to figure out how to like beat the algorithm or something,
Yeah. But hey, if you've already had a bit of success with it, then it should be easier for you to be able to continue.
Yeah, exactly. And right now I would say I was gonna say I'm coasting, but I'm definitely not coasting, but like it's really is just like and it is just fun for me. So like I don't really like you. I'm not really treating it like a business. Like I am posting a ton of stuff online, but I'm not to the point where I'm like, spending all my. I don't know. It's just fun for me. It's not like it doesn't feel like a business. Yeah. So do you have any like wild stories from your travels that you can tell? If you can't, then that's fine too.
Define wild stories though.
Well, I mean, really anything. It could be like you're just I was gonna ask earlier, like, you're just I'm sure this happens to you all the time, but like you're just absolutely either blown away by nature, that could be it, or just some kind of stuff that you wouldn't expect would happen and like some crazy stuff while traveling.
Yeah, so I've had some human experiences, right? For example, I was in a place over the weekend paddle boarding, where there was absolutely no reception whatsoever, right? Now, what I do when I'm on the road is every few weeks, I try to stay at a bed and breakfast, just for a weekend, just to recharge my batteries in a way, right? Like hot shower with running water, all that. And I was at this place paddleboarding, and I was just chatting with a couple that had gone there to train swimming for a triathlon. I later found out, yeah. And at the end, they're like, "Oh, well, do you want to come over for dinner and the dessert, and just stay the night?" And so, first of all, a completely random person, and they're inviting me, and I found that, to me, that's one of the beauties of just traveling. Is that you meet various people all over, right? I got stuck in the muck once with the car. No way to get it out. I had to wait until it dried up a little bit, and then dig myself out. And in the meantime, there was someone nearby, and simply, he invited me over for drinks and for dinner, and we just talked. So I've had a lot of these experiences. I write them down each time because I find them, to be amazing. Yeah. Just with various people everywhere. And I find that, to be really remarkable, because you don't expect it. When you're just living your normal life, I'll say, working 9 to 5, going back, to your house in the evening and all that, it's not the type of experience that happens, right? And so, because of many things that happen around the world, sometimes you lose a bit of your faith in humanity. And I found through traveling that a lot of faith in humanity has been restored by these little moments. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's awesome. I mean, the most amazing experiences I've had, just kind of to compound on what you said. Um, first of all, I think it's crazy that I'm talking to you in Los Angeles and Mike is talking to you in Orange County in the middle of France. I think that's amazing. But no, just like the experiences I've had, the best experiences I've had were in like Nairobi, Kenya, right? Where just people were so warm to you, and you almost forget how crazy the world is back in the States. And like how fast paced it is. And you kind of welcome that break, right? Of just human interaction, and just that you touch each other like in an emotional way, in a natural way, or like a not a psychic way, you know what I'm saying? Like yeah. And I think everyone needs that. Like, I mean, I think all of us go home to recharge, right? Like I'm going to be in Chicago for Christmas, and why am I going to be in Chicago for like a week? Just to recharge, be with my family, be with the people I love. And it's like, I need that. If I like during COVID, it was a nightmare. Being streaming I don't want to go into it, but my brother's wife, and they were very concerned about COVID. And so we had to do Christmas online. And meanwhile, so you get what I'm saying. But I need that human interaction, and it just recharges your batteries, so that you can go through your whole life, the other 364 or 61 days, without, and still have the energy to do it. Like we're human. At the end of the day, we're human.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I've come across so much hate, and it's horrible to say this, but it's mostly in cities, right? I've come across so much hate that when I started traveling full time, I said to myself, you know what? This is really just to stay away from humans, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I am a very solitary person, and I like being alone, right? I don't feel lonely when I'm alone. I love it, right?
You have your birds, right?
I have my birds.
So you're not totally alone. Just kidding.
But alone from the other human,
no, I know. I'm just messing around. Yeah.
But hey, you feel amazing, when you have these with you all the time.
I'm kind of jealous. I wish they were like right here on me. Like I need birds. Someone give me birds.
I think you should get some birds, Jordan.
No, that'd be. And then that should be.
You can literally have them on your shoulders like the whole podcast.
Pirate always, it's easy.
Yeah. Jordan, you need to get like a snake like crawling over you during the podcast.
It just starts wrapping around my neck like
a cobra.
We'll be like. Anyway,
just kidding. Sorry. Yeah, we cut you off.
No, good. But and the funny thing is, as I've started traveling more, and so having all these random encounters with people, I've started to realize that there is a lot of hate in the world. I mean, let's be honest about it. There really, really is. But there's also a lot of, I'll say, humanity, right? And warmth. And it's something that you forget when you spend all your time online, right? It's really easy to forget just because you see all the vitriol that's spawned out there. So it's really nice, actually, that me looking to get away from humanity has actually brought me to the point where I realized that there is still a lot of warmth and love with people. So that was a nice thing.
I definitely feel like I have the viewpoint that like most people are good, and I really do feel like most people are good. Yeah. But that's also a whole nother subject, because there's also like the theory that like if you, I hate to bring this up, but if you were in like Nazi Germany, then, I think me and Jordan talked about this before with another guy, where like, if you're in Nazi Germany and you're one of the soldiers, like you're essentially probably going to do what they tell you to do. So it kind of depends on like, I want to say a lot of it depends on like where you are, because it's like in America where I live, it's like everyone for the most part is pretty nice. But like if I was in Russia right now or Ukraine, it's probably a different story. Like everybody's probably, I don't know, like really angry or something, but
Well, so
but Ludovic, can I
yeah,
recommend? Like, I'm gonna plug the book that Micah was talking about, and
yeah.
I don't get any money from it. I just love this book. And if you have a lot, if you have a lot of time traveling, it's called Man's Search for Meaning.
Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl, you know it. You already know it. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah.
Which one are you talking about, Jordan?
Same one. Nazi Germany. The Auschwitz. Auschwitz.
Well, I was I was talking about that guy. We talked to you about consciousness, and we went into that.
We talked about Man's Search for Meaning. So it's called Man's Search for Meaning. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna like plug his book. I was like, good job, Jordan, plugging like another guest.
No. Viktor Frankl. It's one of the most amazing books I've ever read. Because without what does it say? Like, where there's hope, or wait, where there's a will, there's a way. It's like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The fact that in a situation such as he was, and so my family, I'm pretty much divided, right? On my mom's side, we're Jewish, so I'm Jewish, yeah. And my grandmother survived.
Your mom's Jewish, you're Jewish, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cheers. Oh,
L'chaim.
And my grandmother, survived the Holocaust while in France, lost her entire family and everything, right?
Wow.
And one of the well, except for her brother, but the rest of her family, like her parents, her sister, everything, And I remember I was talking with her about her life. She has not had an easy life. I mean, obviously, but even after that, a lot of things went wrong. And despite it all, she woke up every morning, went to work, raised 3 kids pretty much by herself, because even when she was married to my grandfather was a lovely man in many ways, but not a hard worker. I mean, in the dictionary next to the definition of lazy, there's a picture of him, right? But he was a very smart man, right? So I mean, that helped him because he was able to make up for some of it that way. But so her entire life, right? I mean, that's what she did. And I asked her, I said, how did you do that? She said, what do you mean? I said, well, it's not easy. She's like, no, but I had to. I was like, right, but I mean, it's not something that's easy. She's like, no, but she said, your generation, and maybe not ours, but I think the one at least that's after us is definitely having an issue with this. It's like, oh, I don't feel like doing something, so, well, it doesn't matter if you feel like doing it or not. If it needs to be done, just do it. I'm fighting with the birds.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, what's up, little man? And so the question is, Lola's like looking in the camera, like, what is this thing? I feel like does she have her own what?
The minute I take out the camera, Lola's in front of it. It's yeah.
She's literally like, or he's literally like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Hey, how are you?
I have no problem with the bird being in front of the camera.
Well, there you go.
We can make a whole podcast about it.
Oh yeah, a podcast where you just talk with animals.
Hey Lola.
We can say Jordan's like a bird whisperer, and he's able to like speak with the animals intuitively.
Dude, look at Lola. He's like literally looking in the camera, like, what's up?
Definitely.
What's up?
See, coming back.
I want to know what Lola thinks about all this.
Yeah, what's his opinion?
Lola lives a good life, it's live and let live.
Yeah. So speaking of the Jewish thing, I know it's almost like a weird thing to even talk about, because I feel like I knew this guy who was Jewish a while. I know a good amount of Jewish people, but this one guy, I was like, why do you think Jewish people are so smart or successful? And he was like, that's kind of offensive. And I was like, why? He's like, you're generalizing a whole group. And I'm like, no, it's a good thing though. Like, I like Jewish people, but for one, I want to know, why are they so successful? And then two, I want to know, why do they get so much hate? You know what I mean? It's like, what's your theory on that?
Well, I know the hate part. If you're going to be biblical, they're always going to be persecuted their whole lives, like, or for eternity.
But I mean, do you buy into that? Like, because they were like, because Jesus was a Jew, then
no,
I'm not saying I don't, but what?
No, I get it. So first of all, by the way, I'll explain your friend's comment about why he thought it was offensive. Yeah.
I understand, but
no, it's because it's a slippery slope. The minute you start generalizing, even a good stereotype, right?
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope, because if you've got a good stereotype, then there's also the bad side of it, and from there, I mean, you know where that goes. But
I don't necessarily feel like the bad side of that's why I'm asking you why they get persecuted, because I don't know, I don't believe in the bad side. I've never seen the bad side, you know what I mean? So
no, yeah. So I think, look, historically, right, have been expelled and from every country imaginable, right? And despite it all, we are still one of the oldest people on Earth. I mean, despite everyone's efforts, every time to, erase us completely, right? We're still here. And I think to a point, and despite all of that, many Jews, I'll put it that way, are still successful. And many, by the way, are poor as dirt. Yeah, I mean, there's those also. Because when you don't have a choice each time, just like my grandmother, you get up, you do the work, and you rebuild yourself. My grandmother was born into an ultra wealthy family, right? From Paris. I mean, more money than, wow, really, something incredible, okay? And she lost it all. She just had enough afterwards just to be able to set up a little store, and the money from that store, she just, each time into another store, not to build, but like sell one, move to another. Yeah, her entire life, that was it. And so she was lucky that she had that little bit to start off, but I mean, it was definitely not enough to really build something big, and never go anywhere near what she had. And despite that, not once in her life did she complain. Did I hear her, mumble about this or that? Never. She just got up, she did the work, and she rebuilt her life. And that was it. And many people in our community are like that, right? They simply get up, they do the work, and it's been like that for generations. So despite being blocked, right, from many industries, which is how so many Jews got into Hollywood, by the way, because it wasn't considered a high-class industry, so let the Jews go for it. And look what it's been built into, right? Overall, they succeeded into
you control the media industry. 100%. Yeah.
Well, supposedly, I mean, how much truth is there? I'm not saying it's not true, but like when, I'm sure you heard Kanye West, like recent the stuff that he's been saying recently.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
is that even true? Like, would you say Jewish people control the media? Because I mean,
no. What Kanye said was anti-Semitic, and so that was horrible.
Yes.
Do Jews control the media? Pretty much, and that's good for you. Like, that's awesome.
Great. Yeah. No, let's phrase your sentence, because I know how you mean it. Yeah. Some Jewish people control the media. It is not Jews as a whole that control the media. Big difference. Big difference.
Yeah.
And because one
I agree.
Factual, the other is anti-Semitic, right? When people tell me, Jews control the world, are you kidding me? Look at Israel. They had 5 elections in 2 years. They can't manage to get one country under control. You want them to control the entire world. They can't agree on one country.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And let me clarify. I'm just saying there's a large Jewish presence here in Los Angeles and Hollywood, in the media. And I don't know how that came about in terms of Jewish people being in control of that, but it's paid dividends. Absolutely. And I think it's amazing. Say again?
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing on back of your comment, Jordan, is when Kanye West was going off about it. It's like, why is he mad at them? It's like they're doing a good job. Like, they're doing well at business. Like, you know what I mean?
And they pay, and they give him money. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like, they give him money, and honestly, like, I don't understand. And like, please, because I'm from Chicago, don't associate me with Kanye West. Like, I know, like, that's my hometown, and he's from Chicago, but like, I couldn't believe the things that came out of that.
The thing is, people really, there's a huge difference between saying some Jewish people control, certain aspects of the media because they own it, fair enough, right? To saying Jews as a whole control the media, because those are two very different things, and that's a mistake that many people make, right?
Yeah,
no, I get it. All I'm saying is that there's a heavy prevalence of
absolutely.
Jewish people in Los Angeles in the media, and I am saying, great, good, that's good. Like, I don't care.
Exactly, good for them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? They're doing well.
What you're saying, is factually completely correct. The reason, by the way, there are so many Jews, in the media and in banking and in these industries, even in the fashion industry, for example, right? The textile, right? Specifically, because Jews were not allowed to own land, weren't allowed to do a whole bunch of stuff that was considered at the time the high class industries. So we were relegated to what was considered at the time the low class industries, except that, we worked hard, built it up. And so now the people that are there, have succeeded. And I'm saying we, because I want to be able to say, my people, but the truth is not me. I haven't done anything for that, right? So it's those individuals. And yeah, when I know that there's a chance, there's recently someone did a survey for hiring managers, right, about whether they would hire Jewish people or not. This was in the US, right? And many of them said that their bosses and they, prefer not to if they can, right? So guess what? When that's the feeling outside, then yeah, I understand also why Jews would say, well, you know what? If you're Jewish, then I may give you a bit of favor, but only if you're good, if you prove yourself. If you're not good, screw that, and I'll take. Screw that, and I'll take someone else who can do your job, because ultimately the question is who can do a good job.
Yeah, it just makes no sense to me that, like you just said, that survey would say that about Jewish people or Black people in America today. It's like, come on, dude, like
horrible.
It's like, what does it matter? Like your mom was Jewish, and who cares? It's weird. It's weird too with Judaism, because it's like, it's the one. I'd say I always have like a hard time saying this, because I kind of got exactly my point, but basically it's kind of like the one religion where it's also kind of like a culture, right? Like I'm Christian, I might be like a Christian, I might be a Christian, but I'm not like really culturally Christian, or I'm not like ethnically Christian. But with Jewish people, a lot of them are like, not all of them I know, but like, aren't most of them kind of like from like Israel, I guess, right?
Well,
not necessarily, but yeah,
not necessarily. But do you see what I'm saying? So it's like,
we are from Israel, but we were a people before we were a religion. So you can be Jewish atheist, right? You can say, I don't believe in God, but you're still Jewish because you're part of the nation.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me, for example, I'm not religious, right? But I always said, if I did have a family, I would be religious so as to continue the tradition, because it's what's kept us alive, for thousands of years, the tradition, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, and this is, we're going down a whole like rat hole here.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is one thing. Jordan wants to say something. Let me speak. No. What I think is that as you get older, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I've seen from friends, family, etc., as you get older, you get more religious, right? Maybe it's because you're getting closer to death. I don't know, but you become more religious, and you can reconnect with your roots, like what you came from. And I think there's this period, just the same reason why people want, you start off in an apartment, then you move to a nice house and a bigger house and a bigger house, and then you realize, like, why do I have this giant house and there's no one here anymore, right? And then you start downsizing into an apartment again and back to like a room. And I feel like that's kind of like religion. It's like, at first you're like, no, I can do this on my own, right? I can figure everything out. I don't need anything. And then as you get older and you have children, you're like, holy crap. Like to what you said, Ludovic, it's like, you said, like, I think you said this a second ago. If I have children or blah, 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 like, it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of grounds you. I get that, but I feel like we change throughout our life and become more religious as we get older. That's my opinion. I can't speak for everyone.
No, of course. I found myself
there's truth to that. Yeah.
more traditionalist with time. You know,
What's up? What was that?
I found myself to be more traditionalist with time, meaning as long as I'm single, I'm not going to be religious, right? That's because I don't need that grounding, right? As you said, Jordan, simply because I don't have a family. But having said that, I am still more careful. For example, I unless there's really an emergency, I don't work on Saturdays, right? Just because we all need a day off in any case, right? So might as well make it Saturday, which is my people's day, right? It's just one of those things. So yeah, so I have found that with time. When I was younger, that was definitely not an issue.
Yeah, well, the thing with
Sorry,
that,
I saw Lola.
Yeah,
I get your point with that, but at the same time, I kind of feel like it has to be something that I like believe in order to do that. Like I probably wouldn't necessarily change to become Christian if I had a family and not if I was single, just because
right.
it would have to be something that I would believe in. I see what you're saying, and I think that happens to a lot of parents who raise their kids. They're like, we want to bring them to church and we want to raise them as a Christian or a Jewish person or whatever. But yeah. So
But that's because Christianity is a religion, not a nation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
It's more of a cultural thing for you. Yeah.
Exactly. For me, it's just
Yeah.
a question of tradition, that's been passed on for thousands of years, and so should continue to survive. My grandfather told me, on my mother's side, he said, if no Jews were religious, I would be religious. As long as other Jews are religious, I'm not going to be religious.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was his reasoning? What was his reasoning for that?
The same as mine of if I had a family, to keep the tradition alive, so that the people as a people don't die out.
Yeah. And then going back to what you said before about, I think older generations. I remember seeing, like literally reading a quote one time on like a message board about like a Mad Men. Have you seen the show Mad Men, or do you know of the show?
Yeah, I saw a few episodes.
Yeah. I was on a message board and they were talking about Don Draper and them and like working hard. And they're like, they used to work hard because they had to, not because they wanted to. And now the generation, like you were saying, it's like they don't want to work hard. And I think I think part of it might be because people I don't know, I could be wrong about this, but like people are raised now better than they were. I'm assuming like things are easier now overall, like with technology and stuff. Yeah. So they don't want to work as hard, but at the same time, even though I see where you disagree with it and why you could disagree with it, it's kind of like, I feel like there is a good thing to the pushback of companies like overworking their workers, and
absolutely,
you know what I mean. Like I have a problem with like I work for Amazon, for instance, and it's like, you there?
No, I'm here. I'm just asking. Are you talking about Elon Musk?
It's not showing anything now. You still there though?
No, I'm here. Yeah,
hello?
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see Ludovic. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, sorry. The rain started, so it may affect my reception a little bit. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, so there's both. I think there's both perspectives to that, which is, yes, you should work hard, but at the same time, I think there is kind of like a good thing to this pushback of overworking yourself. You know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
There should be some type of balance depending on what your goals are, right? As someone said, if you have a startup, you're not going to have a balanced life in the beginning. It's not going to happen, right? Because to excel at anything, and if you have a startup, the goal is to excel at that business specifically. You can't be, balanced out. Imagine Michael Phelps, right? His life wasn't balanced as an athlete. His life was swimming as an athlete, and that was that, right? If you're an employee and if you have no desire to develop your own thing afterwards, which by the way is not bad, right? If you are happy with your life with a 9 to 5 and going back to the wife and kids, at the end of the day, my God, that is what you should continue to do. I mean, you don't need to have a side hustle and all of that, right? You should if you need to financially, but otherwise, I mean, don't. So I do think that in that sense, if that is your life trajectory, then you should be balanced. If you're trying to excel at something, then you can't be balanced. And the thing is that people think that they should be able to excel without putting in the effort. And that's the part I disagree with. If you want to tell me, I just want to work a 9 to 5 and I'm happy with my salary at the end of the day, I would like it to be more because, we always want that. Fair enough, right? But I'm happy with that. Great. Work your 9 to 5 or don't work on the weekends, whatnot. If you want to excel, you will need to put in the effort. And that is where I'm disagreeing with a lot of what I see today.
But there's also an extreme. Like, I'm not dissing anybody because I don't know who sponsors this podcast. Elon Musk, maybe, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, like, the guy sleeps in his office and he expects everybody to be there bright and early, as work a certain amount of hours, and then he retracted it, whatever. I'm not a spokesperson, but what I'll say is, like, there's a healthy work-life balance.
Yes.
And so what you're saying, Ludovic, is if you if you want to start something, and like, this is where I agree with Elon Musk, you have to just put everything in, and you want to be surrounded by people that put everything in. Now that doesn't necessarily coincide with some people who are like, I want this day off and this day off, so to your point, it really all depends. And I would say Elon Musk right now, in terms of Twitter and everything that's going on with that, that's a good litmus test in terms of, because he's asking a hell of a lot out of his employees, and he did the same at Tesla, and he did the same at SpaceX, and I know this because I know people that work there. And it's like, you're either on this crazy train and make a lot of money, or you're not. And so it really all depends. And I think most people are kind of in the middle, and it's like, I want to work hard and have a great life, but I want to be able to provide for my family and do the vacations we want and do all the things we want to do and see Europe and Asia and Africa, but then also just be able to spend time together, right? And so it really all depends on what your motive is, what your MO is, right? So
and that's why
it's all about finding that work-life balance. And sorry, real quick, speaking of
but Ludovic said this earlier, life goes by so fast. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to my parents to taking me to Africa and taking me all over the world when I was a kid. And I know I didn't get to experience Micah with you, with Lucas, with all our friends, graduation, or like, junior high and high school and whatever. But I will never, ever trade what I had, the experiences I had, for that. You know what I mean? And at the time, I was very jealous, and you guys were all best friends. And I was the guy who had the dad that, not military kid, but pretty much the same life. Right. And I would never trade that for the world. It was an incredible experience. And I will want the same for my children one day. Like, I want to take them to all those places that I've been to, because they need a perspective. It's perspective, right? I see people living in tin roof houses, and I'm like, that can't be safe, right? And the kids pulling water, and the stuff. We could do a whole podcast on that, but Ludovic, I get it.
Yeah. Well, and sorry, real quick, Ludovic, you brought up, I just want to ask this question. Like, you brought up Elon Musk, Jordan, and I'm actually like currently listening to a podcast that is kind of like going over his life and his background. And essentially they're saying he like, and I don't know if you've realized there's been like some pushback on Elon Musk recently. And it's like, they're kind of like saying that he is like somewhat of like a grifter. Like I've heard things that like I haven't listened to enough of the podcast, so I can't like really say anything, but basically like he's not doing as much as like people give him credit for or think he's doing. Yes, he owns these companies, but it's like he's not like, I mean, if you notice, he's like fucking tweeting all the time. It's the same as Trump, you know, like tweeting all the time. And like,
well, yeah,
I think people give him too much credit.
The thing is this, Tesla right now as a company, I mean, doesn't need him on a daily basis. You know, they're not like having a crisis right now, right?
Yeah.
Twitter is in crisis mode, right? Because he's taking it in a completely different direction. So that is considered, you know, a crisis mode. So if I were one of his shareholders, which I'm not, because, you know, obviously, I would want him to be there all the time. And if I saw him at Tesla, I'd be like, well, with all due respect, Tesla can run by itself for now, mostly, right? Doesn't need you there every single day. So go take care of the company that we just bought. So to me, that does make sense. Now, regarding him being a grifter, look, by the way, to be very clear, I'm not an Elon Musk fan, right? Like, you know, one of those diehard. No, I do have respect for him.
Do you know about what I'm talking about, though? Like, have you heard these theories that he's like,
yeah,
what?
No, I haven't heard those theories specifically. But I mean, you know, I'm on Twitter enough to not be surprised that they're there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Do his cars work as well as he says they do, et cetera, et cetera? No, right? Are there issues? Of course. I'm assuming the same with SpaceX. I know really very little about SpaceX, so I'm not going to venture that, but I assume that there are also problems there, right? Fair enough. Is that to improve, to evolve, to anything, right? Along the way, before we actually get decent solutions, we have a lot of bad solutions, and it's always been that way. Even if you look at cars in the beginning, even if you look at planes, anything in the beginning, yeah, we had planes, we had cars, but they were horrible. And it took a long time until they became something workable. I would not buy an electric vehicle now, maybe in the future, right? But now I definitely don't think it's good enough to warrant me buying one. Definitely not one of the self-driving ones. But with all of this, you know, being bad, do I think it's an important step? Absolutely. Because if we wait until things are perfect, then we'll never get anywhere because they never start off perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
So overall, it's like, yeah, like maybe he or his companies aren't perfect, but it's like without starting it, it's like you got to start somewhere type thing, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, it even when you talk, I know that vaccines now are, you know, very sensitive issue, but if we go back to before COVID, from vaccine, you know, as pre-COVID, right? Even vaccines in the beginning, they definitely did not work in the beginning properly, right? And it took some time until we figured it out. And okay, medicine, same thing. How many people died from actual mistakes, and still do, by the way? Even with modern medicine, modern medication, how many people die from new medications until the exact, and even then it's never 100%, but you know, until it's good enough to really be considered good, right? That's the world. And I'm not trying to say, you know, that human life is not valuable and that, oh, well, people die. But I mean, people die. That is literally.
Yeah.
Lola never dies. Lola's always alive, right in the camera.
Absolutely.
Lola's not real. Have you heard that?
Lola's like, this is my podcast. Get me in here.
Have you heard that like birds aren't real? It's like a joke.
All birds go to heaven.
Definitely, all animals go to heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all good, right?
Absolutely. But yeah, no, so to go back, you know, to the whole Elon Musk thing, I think he's part of a necessary evil of evolution.
I don't think he's.
I wouldn't say he's evil. I wouldn't say he's evil. I see what you're saying though. Yeah.
Let me say something. Like I definitely don't think he's evil. I think he's brilliant. I think that he might not take the right paths and everything. Just like Trump, whatever. Like he wants to do good, but you know, there's certain things he sucks at, right? And like every human being, he's a human, just like you and me. Like I don't care if he's Elon Musk. right? He doesn't have a crown on his head floating in the air. Like, he's not a freaking angel or anything like that. But like, and his worth at work, I can't stop looking at Lola. Hi. Does she see me? Does she know? Does he see me? Does he know he's on camera?
No, I think that their eyes are sensitive to infrared.
Oh, okay. Because he's like staring at me. No, but I think Elon Musk has good intentions, and I think I wouldn't say he's an Einstein by any means, but I would say in this world that we live in, you know, you have Apple, you have, you know, Amazon, you have SpaceX, you have all these things. Like when I saw Starlink. I keep saying it wrong. Skylink, Starlink. Anyways, when I saw
it's Starlink.
Starlink. Yeah, when I saw that in the desert, I was like, holy crap, we're either getting bombed right now, or there's aliens, or what is that? There's just a line of satellites going around. And so like to do that is phenomenally impressive. Absolutely. You know, and to give you and to give you, Ludovic, internet anywhere in the world when you're traveling in your Land Rover. Hi, Lola. Hi, Lola. when you're traveling in your Land Rover, like, to be able to stream anywhere, even if it's in the Amazon, he's got balls, right? He
absolutely.
Yeah. So I respect that. I think that's
more than that. You know, people say that, you know, talk about his failures, right? Oh, you know, like, what was it, an underground tunnel that he wanted to do in California or something like that? I don't.
It's called the subway.
Yeah.
Which it's called hyperlink or whatever it's called. But like yeah.
Let's say, right, that it
hyperloop.
Right. Okay. So let's say that it is a phenomenal failure. Let's say, okay, and I honestly have no idea. Right. The minute I left California is the minute I stopped, you know, spending my time learning about the politics of what's going on there.
Yeah.
But that it is a complete failure. All right. Let's say. So what? Is there any event that has 100% track? Absolutely not. Most people, whether you talk about, you know, sports or inventors, scientists, right, whatever, will fail more times than they succeed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And the only way you get to those, you know, successes are by failing so many times, because you have to try.
You know how antibiotics were invented? Through a failure. You know, hi Lola. Through a failure.
Well, it's like it's part of evolution, right? It's what's it called? Like the glitches or whatever in evolution is what like makes like certain animals do better. Why am I not thinking of that word?
I don't know. I keep on thinking of X-Men when you were saying that, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. Jordan, do you know what I'm talking about? Like the I think it starts with an M. That's gonna bother me. But like basically like the mistakes are like what like kind of like drives evolution forward. You know what I mean?
all the not all, but a lot of the major scientific breakthroughs or technology breakthroughs have been through mistakes. And yeah. So
so recently, for
example, well, I mean, the whole thing is you can't hold anything against him, because like you said, yeah, maybe he has a couple of mistakes, but look at all his successes.
He landed a freaking rocket on a boat.
Yes.
Like, come on, you know, reuse the rocket. And I've been to SpaceX. Like, some stuff I can't say, but I've been in SpaceX. I've seen the Iron Man. They filmed Iron Man there. They have like the original Iron Man suit there. Certain things I shouldn't have seen and I can't say on this podcast, but I was under NDA, and it's pretty impressive. What
were you doing out there?
He was a customer of mine. So
who was?
SpaceX.
Elon Musk?
I did a full tour of the whole place, and I shouldn't have seen things I did see. But
did you meet him?
No, I didn't mean Elon. But I was there, and they were like, "Don't look to your right." And who's not going to look to your right when they're seeing? I'm like, they literally said, "Don't look to your right." I'm like, so I looked to my right, and they're like, so I can't. I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but like, I could rebuild the thing in my head. There's no way I could. But they had like 3D printing of steel. They were 3D printing steel and all these like filtration systems and like stuff. It was crazy. But the thing is like, I could never imagine that, but he did, right? So as much as you want to hate him, like the guy is not the Einstein of our generation by any means, like, or the not Tim Cook, but whoever before Apple.
Steve Jobs.
Steve
But
Jobs.
who is then? I mean, it's like if he's not the Einstein, he might be.
I don't know why there's not more Einsteins. Like, like, and if you watch Joe Rogan and the podcast, not his podcast, but his stand-up comedy, he talks about like, where are all the smart people and why isn't anybody protecting them and breeding with them and having babies with them, right? And it's like
just have as many babies with the smart people as possible.
Yeah, as possible. And so, like, where is the next Einstein? Because it's not like it's hard because we have all the technology at our fingers. Now we don't have to do these crazy equations. Like, it's all AI and computer generated. So machine learning and all this stuff. Computer, shut up. Sorry, my Alexa's going low.
I read a book. This was
Alexa, shut up.
I was in early 20s. A book, I think, The Origins of Genius, right? And one of the things that was interesting was you may have a lot of smart people, but the question is, which one of those smart people will actually do something? Because ultimately, genius is not only a question of mental capacity, right? We know people who are, armchair geniuses, armchair Einsteins, right? We know people like that. I'm sure you know someone who's like that. But the question is, who then does something with it? And that requires work. That requires, but not only work, it requires also the ability to overcome any fears, any issues, and actually take steps. You may fail, and you may fail spectacularly, right? And that is where there's essentially, a bit of a block. Where are all the Einsteins? A lot of people, enough people may have the mental ability, right? The brain power. But the question is afterwards, what do they then do with their lives? Some of them may be a cashier at McDonald's. We don't know.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. And it is like you're saying, it is still hard. Like Jordan, you were saying with all the AI and everything, it's like, even with the AI and the computers and everything, it's still hard work. Like I heard one like physicist on Joe Rogan, Brian Green, I think his name was saying how it's like people think that like what they're doing is like really exciting and interesting. And he's like most of the days it's just kind of like hard, boring work. Like, you know what I mean? Like kind of like grinding. It's still like grinding the pavement because even with the AI and all that stuff, I think they're essentially trying to like add on to that. And that whole world is when you brought up the app thing, I don't know how much tech you're involved with in terms of the app, but it's like, in my opinion, tech is what is absolutely changing the world. Like those people are like fucking like on another level, like those tech companies, you know what I mean? Because it's like within probably like 10 years from now, I mean, it's just going to be, everything's going to be like fucking like AI based and like tech based. You know what I mean?
Micah, it really is. And it's all these machines are learning. I mean, these computers, these like supercomputers that I sell. That's my job. I sell these supercomputers and they're just learning constantly what we want. And if you look at like surgery, for example, these days, right? You go in, they have microscopic or whatever it's called, surgery. You need a surgery in your stomach to get rid of your gallbladder or whatever. And they put it through you. They cut little incisions and they can do it. Soon computers going to do that, right? We're going to lay on a table and we don't even need surgeons anymore. They'll give us drugs. Boom. You're out. And then they'll go to work and it'll be perfection.
Wait,
right?
hold on about that. since apparently you work in that field, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's a question of experience, not for the regular, when everything predictable happens, right? But for when the unpredictable happens. That's where experience makes a huge difference.
That's
right?
where in my opinion, to answer your question,
Yep.
which I know where you're going with this, it's the same reason that there's autopiloted airplanes, but there's a pilot sitting behind it, right?
Right.
So yeah, and there'll be a doctor sitting behind it saying, okay, no, hold on, I got it. I got this now, right? So I think we're getting to the age, I know we're getting to the age where that's how surgeries happen. And then it's in and out. My friend had his gallbladder removed, and he wasn't even in the hospital for like 12 hours, like if that. My mom had her thyroid removed, and she was in the hospital for a few hours. So it was just so precise and perfect. And we could talk about advancements in medical fields, like all like a whole nother podcast. But yeah, it's incredible.
How do you see AI dealing with things that are unpredictable, though?
I don't. I mean,
so we'll still have the experts.
You have to, because
I think you're just saying somebody will still be there, like kind of like watching over the AI.
It's the same, Micah. It's the same predicament like when a Tesla drives a car and sees a dog and a human and says, "I'm gonna hit the dog or the human." It can't make that decision, right?
Yeah,
it can make that. Like, fuck the dog.
I'm sorry.
I love my dogs that passed away, but like, I'm just saying. Human life is way more important than the dog, right? And so we make those decisions, and the computer can't tell the difference right now. Through machine learning and AI, yes, it'll start to learn, and every data point that's filtered into this massive database will be more perfect as time goes on. So I mean,
like it'll have like experience built in, kind of eventually, right?
I mean, it'll know the difference between an animal and a human. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a Tesla, and
I'm sure it already does know the difference between an animal and human. I mean, honestly, it probably does, and it probably hit the dog.
But then my next question is, what about an elderly person and a brand new baby, and you have to make a decision to go left or right? Like, how do you make that decision, right? And
I mean, it's sad to say, but if you had to make the decision, it's really fucked up. But I would assume they would program it to hit the elderly lady, right? Because I mean, the baby has really, like,
try and take that to court. I would love to see that argument.
Well, no, I'm just saying if there was some sort of rationale or like logic to it, it would be like, okay, the baby has a whole life to live. But obviously that's a bad take. But then, like you say, there is no right answer.
There is no right answer. That's the bottom line.
The whole thing is, though, does that happen? That same thing would happen with a human, and a human would have to decide if you're saying it's one or the other.
Yeah, but then it's on the human, not the technology, to get sued, right? So,
well, maybe it would be the company. I don't know. I mean, right? The company might get sued.
I mean, like the Tesla or whatever would get sued?
Yeah.
There's been instances where that's happened. It's not perfect. And like, if you're drunk and you get in a self-driving Tesla, like I've had buddies of mine that have programmed in their address and just passed out and then woken up in their driveway. And I'm like, first of all, I don't condone that. I'm just saying, like, wow.
Is that legal? Like,
no, I'm sure that's not legal, but
like, I mean, are we to a point where you can just have the car drive for you? I don't even know.
Yeah, self-driving cars. Yeah,
I know they work, but is it legal? Is what I'm asking.
Self-driving cars are legal, but you have to be able to intervene in case there's a problem.
Okay. You have to be awake to watch it.
But some people that I might know have taken it all the way home. And I'm like, geez,
well, but now, to be fair though, okay, the best solution is to take a cab, right? Obviously. But if the only option is self-driving or drunk driving, then the self-driving is the better option.
That was yes. That was my original point, that whole thing, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's sad to say, but like when it comes down to it, it's like statistics, and like Elon Musk has like said himself that like once it gets to a point where self-driving cars are good enough to be the drivers, um, there will be less statistically there will be less deaths. So it's like when it gets to a point where there's literally less deaths from the self-driving cars than like humans, that's when it's basically a better decision.
And listen, I'm all for that. I totally agree with that. Like, especially truck drivers, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you get in your car and it takes you to wherever, and then you're just in your driveway. Like, I totally would rather that happen than the alternative.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just to let you guys know, my battery on my phone is at 10%. So we can either stop and restart on my computer or wrap it up.
We can wrap it up, man.
What do you think, Ludovic? What do you want to do?
It's been a conversation, don't get me wrong. So maybe, end it on a high rather than a low.
Yeah. I didn't even, well, first of all, I have to go to the bathroom and take a break. But when I come back, we can, you guys can keep talking. When I come back, let's finish up with like, some more of your journeys and then your company, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. On like because I think that's probably a higher note, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Sounds good.
Yeah. Or whatever you want to talk about. I mean, I would have brought it back to what we were talking about, but I do find this stuff interesting, what we just were talking about. So whatever you guys.
Definitely. I mean, this was a very interesting conversation. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree. So if you want, then
let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. And Ludovic, let's tell us more. Tell us you have anything you want to talk about or anything else?
I'll be right back.
Yeah, Mika, you can go. Don't worry.
Let the poor kid go to the bathroom. It's been 2 hours. Let's just talk about Micah while he's gone. There you go.
No, but that's actually, by the way, the reason I before we started, I was like, right, I have no idea, how long it'll go. Let me just go quickly, make sure that I'm and then I can do this properly.
The key is to go to the bathroom during the podcast.
And to be wearing boxer shorts so everybody can see them when you get up.
Yeah, exactly. Or just mute your camera. That's the glory of Zoom or whatever this is. Anyways, so like anything else you want to say? Like, forget Micah. I don't care about Micah. I love Micah. Whatever.
Well, regarding the app, because there are sorry, she's eating at the phone. Because there's a travel app that we're developing, but that's for the future because that requires a lot of development. So we're focused on the pet app, and also because, to be fair, of the two, that's one that I connect to the most. Yeah. We're actually, if somebody wants to be a part of it, we're doing like 25 shares for $15, right?
Cool.
To offset the cost of the development. A friend of mine was like, so does that cover all of the development? I said, you have no idea how much development costs, do you?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
It's horrible. I didn't know it cost that much at first, right? Because in the payment processing, then everything tech related, essentially we outsource, right? So we lease the tech platform. When you lease it, you can feel the price of it, but it's not the same as when you develop it from scratch. So developing this from scratch, all of a sudden my eyes opened to the cost of tech development, and I have a lot more respect all of a sudden for anybody who actually does app development and really goes on it, full time, because that is a hell of a risk to take.
Yeah, and I think it's really incredible what you're doing, right? Because I've had dogs. They passed away last year, but 2 years ago during COVID. But I think it's really incredible what you're doing because, to return those, you have Citizen app or you have whatever where it sends out a notification, but none of that is predicated on animals, right? It's always about humans or like some traffic accident or some injury or whatever, right? And none of that is predicated on animals. And I think it's really incredible that you're focusing on that, because believe it or not, that is a huge problem. And those at least in Southern California, those creatures are family, right? And so yeah.
You know, I always say, I mean, to anybody who has a pet, right? Their family, their your best friend, their, some would say, you know, your babies, right? And I always joke, you know, John Wick. I mean, essentially, he went on a murder spree, right? Because he killed his dog, right?
Yeah,
But it resonated so much with people. I mean, we laugh about it, but it resonated so much with people. They made another 3 movies, right?
yeah. You're right.
And the thing is, I mean, even if you, so that's on the emotional side, right? That animals are our family, right? But even if you look at it on the financial side, then 80% of them never find their way home. And I found out that in the US, if you count only cats and dogs, 9.5 million of them are put down every year in rescues because they can't find their owners. You know, so imagine the cost to the rescues also, money that could be much better spent actually doing rescue.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So whether you want to look at it financially or, you know, as an animal lover, it's the reason it came out is because a friend of mine posted, you know, that in Manchester, a parrot had gotten loose. Now, a few years ago, with my ex, we were about to go out. It was July 4th. The local pub was having, you know, it was an American pub, yeah, a whole July 4th event, etc. We were at the door, and I kept on telling her, close the door, close the door. Yeah, it's like, no, don't worry, it's dark. You know, the birds don't fly when it's dark, which essentially is true, but nothing is 100% predictable. Lola flew out, right, and it was night. We found her perched up high, you know, on the building. We knocked on doors despite it being night, and then at some point, like, you know, she flew away and can't find her. Okay, my girlfriend said posted on the, you know, Facebook group, and I did, and I wrote at the end, please share. Someone shared. Now listen to, you know, the absolute luck that I had. Yeah, somebody shared, and one of her friends saw it, and on her timeline just below, she saw a picture that another friend of hers had put. Yeah, of a bird on their boat. Lola was already
on the boat.
Yeah, Lola had flown away to the marina and landed.
Whoa, it's Lola?
Yeah.
Lola.
And already letting me know, you know, I want to travel. And that's the reason, you know, because so many people in between saw it at the right time, shared it. But the truth is that is absolute luck. I mean, what are the chances, you know? If you want to look statistically, I mean, it's 1 in a million, right?
Yeah, but now you're trying to automate that in a way that the same thing can happen to other people, right?
Exactly. Where instead of having to, you know, rely on someone seeing it on the Facebook group and then sharing it at the right time so that her friend sees it and her friend, etc., 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 just, you know, a notification, you know, on your phone, this dog, this parrot, this whatever, right, in your area, has got to keep an eye out for it, right? And you can put a reward on it. If most animal lovers would return the animal without a reward because we know what it's like, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, having gone through that stress and anxiety myself, right? And then when I was younger, I also had a cat who disappeared for about a week. If I can do something that helps other people not do that, I mean, I'm my own target market in this case, which is the best thing, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I figure, you know, it's much better, you know, immediate notification, even if you're not on Facebook.
No, that's incredible. And so it's not just for dogs, right? It's for
all animals.
And all animals. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's really cool.
And can you guys hear me all right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I switched to the other headphones, or with the headphone mic, and then I plugged it in. So I think we're fine now on the battery, but we can still wrap it up if you guys want.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you guys were talking about the pets, right? I was going to ask you, those are your only 2 pets, right? Now?
Those are 2 pets. Yeah. Before I had different things. When I was a kid, I had a cat also, which I told Jordan disappeared for a week once. So, for the pet app, I really am my own target market, right? But there are the features there. The pet Amber Alert, is the main thing that we're starting off with, because that's a pain point for almost everyone. But there are additional features afterwards, for day-to-day care, finding vets and rescues and toys, etc. So yeah.
So this is like your big passion now.
It is. It really, look, I love the financial industry. It's given me a lot, right? It's given me a lot of freedom. And I also like the challenge of it. But where my heart is with the animals. I always said, if I stop traveling at any point, I'm buying a piece of land in the middle of nowhere and building it as a rescue.
Amen.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you also about how did you get to a point where you can just travel full time? Like, did you just grind when you were younger, starting your company? How did you get into that company?
No, so actually the payment processing we started during COVID, incredibly enough.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. And
it's that recent?
It's that recent, the payment processing. Before that, I was a consultant for sales offices of hedge funds and things like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, so I was always in that field, but the payment processing is just a few years old. We focused on high risk because that's the industry that I know better, right? We're moving into low risk also, and the way we were able to build it up is essentially, as long as the tech works and we're leasing it, so they can have their office if they want to. I don't need it, right? We have our salespeople, we have our operations people, compliance who do KYC and all of that, and they're remote. We have a copywriter, so we have in India, in South Africa. We have an admin person in Israel. We have in France, so in the UK, everybody's working from home. For everything that I need to do, as long as I have my phone, so I can answer questions, I can take meetings, I can, strategize, then I'm good. I need the phone and a little bit of reception.
And nice. Starlink.
And I will definitely look into that. I think there's a limit in Europe about where it is, but I will look into it.
No, there's no limit. It's anywhere in the world. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I mean, I'm sure a country could ban it, though. Right?
No, I don't think so.
Is what he's saying.
I mean, there's satellites.
I know so. It's like if a country doesn't want a company to
maybe Russia,
or like North Korea.
Fine, but
well, no. If anything,
he's chilling actually in North Korea. Like,
well, no. My point is that a country could ban it, but I know that he did give Starlink for free or something to Ukraine, like early on, But yeah. So what are your thoughts on like I mean, you worked for hedge funds. What are your thoughts on hedge funds? Because I've heard there's a lot of like bad stuff about hedge funds, right?
So okay, the truth is about hedge funds. If you look at the statistics, right, most professional stock pickers today, it's. I think it was one of the private bankers from UBS in Switzerland who once said, "It's all or Deutsche Bank. It's 50-50, right? The only thing is that we know when to cap our wins and to get out, and when to get out of losing positions. That's the only difference, right?" He may have exaggerated a little bit, but personally, where I put my money is in index funds. The market overall, if we're talking about Western countries, right? The market overall will go up. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but over the course of our lifetime, the markets go up. So instead of stock picking, I just put money in index funds and just, let it ride out.
Let it ride.
And index funds are just like the basic funds, right?
Like FTEs. Yeah.
Yeah, just go to Vanguard. Since you're in the US, look at, they have a few. Just put it there. That's what I would do. This is not investment advice. This is not legal advice of anything, but this is what I would do.
Although you can give legal advice, right? Because you are like a finance expert or whatever, right?
No. Legally, I'm allowed to hold your money. I'm allowed to take money from one person on behalf of another, right? That's what our license lets us do. It does not allow us to give trading advice or legal advice.
All I want to do is invest in Lola.
So, as I said, wait, 25 shares in the pet app.
25 shares and I get a bird?
You can name an honorary founder as an animal.
Oh, okay. I get to give him a middle name.
Go for it.
Yeah,
that would be funny, actually.
Can Jordan invest in your startup? Is there or can anybody invest in your startup?
Yeah, so we're doing a bit. Sorry, that was a bit of a climb down from the phone. We're doing a bit of crowdfunding to offset the cost of the development. The company will have a total of 1 million shares. So essentially, we're raising 30K for 5% of the company, right? So what does it come out to? $15. You get 25 shares, and you can name an honorary founder who is an animal.
Oh wow! So that's real then.
Oh yeah. No, I was not kidding. That was real.
Oh, I thought you were kidding when you said that. So yeah, Jordan wants to go ahead and give you what Jordan, $100,000, right?
I think it was 350K, but yeah.
Oh wow, you outdid my number, man. Jordan believes,
as long as I get to keep Lola.
But yeah, so what do these hedge funds do? I don't really know too much about hedge funds. Like,
one is different.
What exactly are they doing? What?
Yeah, they invest money on your behalf. That's it. The crux of it. That's it. Which is, it's good for certain types of people, right? When your net worth reaches a certain point, then you can't just invest in the regular stuff. You need to be able to diversify more. But if you're just regular, Joe Smith with regular net worth, even a very decent net worth, even up, to a few million, index funds for the stock market part, index funds just beats the rest.
Yeah. How do these hedge funds know what to invest in? Do they have just like geniuses who work for them, or what?
Tim Ferriss recently did a podcast with Arya Burkhoff, he was an analyst for media companies, right? Very well known, did amazing negotiations. And I suggest, it's Tim Ferriss. Most people know him, so I'm not exactly sending your listeners off to, an unknown thing. But I recommend, if you're interested,
totally fine.
If you're interested in hedge funds, listen to what he had to say, even about the way that they do analysis. It gives a lot of insight.
Yeah, but I mean, like in general, would you say that you have to be like really smart to work for one of those companies, or do what you did, like be a consultant? Like, is it high stress doing that kind of job?
High stress, yes.
Yeah.
I was a consultant on the sales side, so I helped them bring in investors, right? I helped them close deals with investors because that's what I'm good at.
You're a good salesman.
I'm an incredible negotiator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is my forte. The finance part is simply because I fell into finances. My forte is negotiation.
And what is it about negotiation that makes you so good? Is it like you're just, how to like get the best deal out of someone, or?
It's more, I'm capable. See, the hedge funds analyze stocks. I analyze people. I can usually tell fairly fast who the person in front of me is, what's the best way to communicate with them, and be likable. Being likable actually, is a very important trait in life, I found. And so, afterwards, yes, there is some there Yeah, sorry about that. There is some theory, on how best to negotiate. What are the points that you should, bring up, the ones that you don't. Um, a lot of that, yes, and you can learn all of that. Essentially, though, be able to read who the person in front of you is and be likable to them.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of what I've found with myself, at least, is is a lot of jobs like this, not the secret to making money, but especially like sales type jobs, is like a lot of it's like really high stress, and so the people who can like take the stress seem to do better than people who can't. Like, honestly, I don't do good with stress, or like if I have like too many things going on and there's too much stress, it like really like just frazzles me. And like with sales, obviously there's also the likability and like the outgoing part, but then you also have to be like really kind of like shameless, right? Like not in a bad way, like in a good way.
Yeah.
Like you have to be willing to like go and just like embarrass yourself in front of somebody you don't know. And Jordan knows more about this than me, but he's like in sales, and it's like have no problem going up to a stranger and like trying to sell them on something, which most people I don't think can do that, right?
So, yeah, but okay. So remember how earlier I said physically, right? You see me. If you were a woman, yeah, I'm not very impressive, right? It's not that a woman sees me from far and swoon. That does not happen. But the ability to go up to a random stranger and accept that the answer is no, because when you ask whatever question you're about to ask, whether it's in sales or dating or whatever, right? Ask whatever you want to ask and have the confidence when you ask that they might say yes. And if they say no, it's okay. One of my early bosses told me early on, he said, look, most people will tell you no. So you need to learn how to handle that from day one, because no matter how good you are, you will never close more than 50%. I did once in my life. It was a competition with another boss who would have the highest closing ratio, and my closing ratio during that month was 70%. But that was because I'm hyper competitive, so putting it as a competition just brought it all out of me. But in general, in sales, you'll never get close even to 50%. So most people will tell you no, and you need to be able to accept that and still be confident, so it's a great life skill.
And then as far as the app goes, do you have anything to do with the tech side, or are you having people like actually make the app for you?
Yeah, no, I am not a tech person at all. Yeah, no. I hired a development team, which is why, there's an offset of the cost, because this is actually really a cost, right? It's not me sitting behind the computer and coding, because trust me, you do not want that happening. But yeah, no, so I'm just doing the business strategy part of it. Because from having, my own company previously, then I know that is something that I'm good at. And we're looking to, add someone who can do social media afterwards, because it will be a lot of word of mouth, obviously.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I wanted to go more into the traveling aspect, but I don't know if you covered everything you wanted to cover with the traveling, or if there was more, but
there's always more, Mika. If you want to continue, or if you want to do another time, also your call. There's always more to talk about regarding travels.
Yeah. Jordan, you're still there, right?
Yeah, man.
You want to wrap it up?
Do I want to wrap it up? Thank you for tuning in to Micah's.
Well, no, not literally right now. I'm just saying, do you have to go to bed? Because I know you have work in the morning.
Yeah, it's getting late here, but it's been a pleasure. You guys are awesome, and I could talk for hours.
I'll just ask. Yeah, we'll wrap it up. But I wanted to ask you about, you've been to a lot of different places, but you live in France, right? You're from France. How does France compare to these other places? Or if I was to travel, well, I want to know about France, but then also if I asked you what's the best place to go, where should I go? One spot, and it's like a specific spot, not only a country, but like a specific spot. Where would you tell me to go? What's the best view you've seen?
Best view. Okay, that helps. Okay, remember I told you about that place in Snowdonia where I woke up and it was just incredible views with the sheep and all that?
Yeah.
So Snowdonia, specifically Snowdonia. It's in
And
Wales.
Where? Oh, in Wales. So Wales takes
Yeah.
it. Wow.
It's for a specific spot. I mean, just for views. So far, I would say that spot, Snowdonia in Wales, absolutely majestic.
Okay, it's called Snowdonia.
Yeah, like snow.
Okay.
Don't. It sounds like a fairy tale almost.
Okay, and then as far as France goes, how do you like? Where do you live in France?
I think the bigger question is who are you rooting for in the World Cup, and then you can talk about France.
I don't know. I don't even know too much about that.
I'm not much of a soccer person, so I'll stay out of that one.
Yeah.
No, but okay. So regarding France, my father's side of the family has a long history in France. My great grandfather was actually the original travel blogger, right? And there's a park in France named after him. There's also a street in Mallorca named after him. I have to take a picture of that when I get there. But there's a park named after him in France. So I'm going to be biased and say that is my favorite place in France, right? To be fair, though, the views are incredible there. I mean,
where is that? You said Mallorca?
No, that part is in France. In Mallorca, there's a street named after him. But in France, there's a whole surf park, which is very big and absolutely gorgeous. And he called it in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. He called it the most beautiful place he'd ever been to, and he had traveled a lot. And when I went there, I understood why. It is absolutely gorgeous.
And what's it called again?
Corrèze. Correze.
All right, I'll have to check it out. And then what about France in general? Like, how do you like living there and the politics and stuff? But it's known as kind of like a liberal country, right? Which I don't think is bad, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I don't love. No, France as a country is beautiful. France as a culture is very rich. I don't think that's where I would live. Where I would live out the rest of my life.
Where do you think you would?
Either Israel, because homeland, right? Or maybe Portugal, because it's beautiful.
Okay, but you grew up in France, right? Like, that is your.
Baruch atah Eloheinu mahalom amotzi naretz.
Oh yeah, Jordan dated a Jewish girl, right?
I dated a Jewish girl,
yeah. There you go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu mahalom.
Wow. Yeah, so those would be the places I would go to probably.
Okay, what about America? What are your thoughts on America?
We lived in Philadelphia for a year. We lived in LA for a few years. And there are some. I visited Texas. I visited Virginia. Vermont I didn't go to, but I think that would be a place that I would absolutely love if I did go. Vermont and New Mexico are probably the two places that I think I would like the best in the US.
And well, I mean, what do you think of the US, or what is not only you, but like France think of the US in general? Like, do they not like it much because of the, like, I don't know, like capitalist nature or whatever? Or
yeah, French people don't love it. Americans in general. Personally, I have no issues whatsoever. On the contrary, a lot of Americans that I've met, are very nice, very friendly. I'll say. Let's put it that way. So I personally have no issues whatsoever. In France, most French people don't love other countries in any case, not just the US, just most countries.
Is it kind of like a snobby type thing? Like
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on the one hand, I can understand France has a very rich culture, beautiful country, great art, amazing food. So I can understand it, but I mean, it's a bit much at times.
Yeah. And sorry, I think you already said, did you say you're from Marseille, France, or?
No, I was born in Cannes, which
Cannes?
is, yeah, where the film festival is.
Yeah, film festival.
Yeah. So is that near Paris? Are you near Paris or no?
Cannes is on the southern part, like border of France. Paris is closer to up north.
Micah,
okay, cool.
The United States, the United States is huge. So Texas alone is like 3 times the size of France. So yes, it's kind of close.
Yeah.
So, okay. For Americans, it would be considered close. Fair enough.
Would you say Paris is the best place to go if I was to go to France?
Oh, okay, depends. Yeah, as a tourist, it's a beautiful city, but it's a city, so you need to like cities, right? But it is a beautiful city. If you go to nicer parts of it, also you can still see the old architecture, and it's amazing. All the monuments and everything. I mean, it's beautiful.
All right, and so we can wrap it up. What I wanted to ask you, and it sounds kind of like a strange question, but I'm curious to why people go on podcasts. So for you, why are you interested in going on podcasts or our podcast? Is it to get like the word out for your business, or do you just like going on to chat with people from different areas, or?
A bit of both. I do like chatting with people, meeting new people. I mean, and proof is we've had a lovely conversation, right? Which I personally really enjoyed.
For sure, yeah.
And it's not something that, I mean, would you go on Reddit or Facebook and just say, oh, hey, let's have a chat, right? For no purpose whatsoever. So I think it's a nice part of capitalism where it gives a purpose, but it's actually very, fun along the way. My purpose is, the app that we're developing, right? And I simply enjoy the path.
Yeah, I honestly think it's amazing. Like to this day, like I grew up like with Nintendo and whatever, and AOL, and it's crazy that I'm sitting here talking to someone in France, right?
Yeah.
With multiple birds flying around. No, I think it's amazing, and I think it's so cool that we can sit here and talk to people across the world and all relate to each other, like, and have topics. And I think that is such something so beautiful. And I think it's awesome. So
I totally agree. Like I've had now you on, I've had somebody from Saudi Arabia, which is probably the craziest, and then Switzerland, and then yesterday I actually had somebody from Holland. I don't know how close you are to Holland, but
close right now.
What's up?
Right now I'm pretty close to Holland.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty cool. So it's like, I mean, like Jordan was just saying, like, how cool is it that I can talk with people from around the world and learn more about the world through you?
Absolutely. I find it, it's one thing. It's a way of traveling without actually leaving your home.
Yeah. And how often are you in France, like compared to traveling?
Well, I have to. It depends. Usually, I'm in France about. When I first came from Russia, I came to France to just arrange a bit of admin. So, how long I was in France previously is not the same as the future. In the future, I think it'll be once every 6 months or every year for about a month or two.
Oh, wow. So you'll be traveling most of the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, like I said, I wanted to talk more about traveling, but I kind of feel like it might be one of those things where, it's more of like a visual thing. You almost have to like see it. Like you can talk about it, obviously, but like you can't really explain how beautiful it is unless you're there.
Oh, well, you're welcome to follow on Instagram if you want. There's the picture, or on Facebook, whichever one you prefer. There's
for sure.
Pictures.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure. Send me the links. And then one question for you too is for any podcasters out there, like you're a businessman, you've done well in business. For one, do you think that podcasting is a good way to make money? And then two, what advice would you give to us to kind of get to a point where we're making money, or anyone?
Right. Yeah. So, is podcasting a good business? Going back to that infamous Tim Ferriss podcast, he was saying how in his mind, and I think he knows what he's talking about, right? When it comes to podcasting and other things, he was saying that he sees it as still in the beginning, despite it being, already so prevalent in so many. It's still, he believes in it, and so I do think, that in that case, it is a good thing to invest in, because if it's still in its infancy, then you can enjoy the ride up, right? So that's regarding that. Regarding the best way to do business in anything always is to have your numbers. Analyze all numbers that come in always, like that. As much information as you can, as detailed as you can be, like that. You'll see, where your listeners are from, how many people. The minute you can get all of that into specific information, specific statistics, that's where you'll be able to find the best way to monetize, whether it's via ads or sponsorships or whatnot. That's how you'll find the best way to monetize.
All right, cool. That is interesting that you say that Tim Ferriss said that, because I think so many people say that it's like really overcrowded, but I've kind of thought that, I love podcasts because I drive a lot and I listen to them, and I feel like there are like a lot of avenues that haven't really been explored with podcasts yet. You know what I mean?
There's that, but there's also the fact that there are a lot of podcasts does not mean that there are a lot of good podcasts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are and then there's also the thing of, okay, there may be a lot of podcasts, but we each have different niche interests that we like, right? So the cream will rise to the top, right, for each one of those niches. And so apparently it's still in its infancy, and I'm happy because I like podcasts.
Yeah, and it's a very what's the word? It's a very like you just said, I think it's a very democratic thing, because like you said, the cream will rise to the top. It's like right now it doesn't really seem like there's anybody controlling it. Like there's no big companies who are just like are really controlling it. Like there's so many like little guys who have made it. Like for instance, I don't know if Joe Rogan was ever really little, but like basically he's not ran by a company. You know what I mean? It's just him and his producer who have made it this far. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And then lastly, what I normally ask is, speaking of podcasts, what podcasts do you listen to that you'd recommend? And then also movies and TV shows.
All right, so I'm not much. I'm less into movies and TV shows.
Yellowstone.
There are a few that are good. So I'll go based on recent. All right. Regarding podcasts, first of all, anything that has that's history related, I love. It could be dark history also. There's a podcast called Lore, which is about the dark side of history that often goes, unnoticed, I'll say. So I like that one. But just I like history podcasts. Lore, if you like the dark side, the macabre side of history, is amazing. So that's that. Regarding TV shows, I just started watching yesterday, and I'm probably going to finish it this week. Wednesday.
Oh, okay. My girlfriend just started watching that too. Yeah.
It's not normally the type of TV, but I like it because there is a macabre side to it, but it's also very funny. And I wasn't expecting that. I watched it just because a friend of mine said that I'd enjoy it, and you know what? She was right. I did. So I'm probably going to finish that up this week. Movie, The Last Vermeer.
The Last Vermeer.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
Okay, so it's about pretty much how an artist, a Dutch artist, who was not a famous artist because he didn't play it politically correct before the war, unrelated to the war, during World War II. But he was a great. He found out that it's about a con, how to con Nazis out of their money with forgeries. And so it's called The Last Vermeer.
And that's like it sounds like is it French or?
No, it's in English. It has Guy Pearce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Guy Pearce, and then a bunch of more local European actors. Very good. I was very surprised. Very good.
All right. Cool. Yep. Sounds good. Is there anything other that you want to ask Jordan, or you?
Yeah. And I just want to plug Yellowstone because it's awesome.
Jordan loves Yellowstone. And they're coming out with a new one too. I think it's called like 1923. They came out with the 1899 one.
1899, and then they have like Kevin Costner actually going to Yellowstone and whatever. But yeah,
I'll check it out then. Check it out.
Yellowstone's a great show.
I think Harrison Ford is gonna be in like the 1923 one, right?
But yeah, that's what I heard. Or 18, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. All right. Well, yeah. Is there anything that you want to plug, Ludovic?
Nope. I'm good.
You think you already got it all out there?
Can you plug Lola for a second, please? There he is.
There you go. Lola is thirsty. Hold on one second. So maybe we can. Oh yeah, because I taught Lola already. Hold on, maybe still thirsty? No, still thirsty. Okay, I taught Lola already from a young age to drink from a cup or a bottle.
Oh, that's awesome.
It makes a lot easier when.
All right. But what is the name of the app again? For myself, I want to check it out.
Yeah. Tails, Beaks, and Feets.
What was it again?
Tails, Beaks, and Feets.com.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Can you spell it out?
Tails, like tail, right? Plural. TAILS.
Yeah.
BEAKS. Beaks. And AND. Feets. FEETS. I know that feet is plural already. Please do not tell me that. But it's because a lot of animal lovers say feetsies. So feets.com. That was not me, by the way. That's a branding person. Just so we're very clear.
All right, cool.
All right.
And then send me if you want to say your Instagram. Otherwise, send me the Instagram link. I want to check out your pictures. I'm sure you got good ones.
I'll send it all over to you.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Ludovic. And once again, if you ever want to come back on to talk about more, I think there's more to cover. So
gladly, whenever you want.
All right. Thanks.
Enjoy your travels.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and good night.
I'm very jealous. All right, bye.